Welcome to Your High School Sports. I'm your host, Rodney Woods, along with Chris Blevins and Chris Reddick, and we're here to talk about the big game coming up tonight here in the Tri-Cities, but that's down the road now. Bart Lyons will be here. He'll talk about the Hilltoppers' big win over Ooltewah. But first and foremost, we have to pay a few bills, so it is time for the Buddy's Barbecue. If you're in Sevierville, go by and see Kenny and pick up one of those family packs.
Ooh, good stuff. I pick it up every week for our Your High School Sports Game of the Week. Good stuff.
Good stuff. Chris is here. Chris Reddick is here with Around the Nation, and Chris Blevins is here with what's happening across the region. So, fellas, what's going on around the nation?
Around the nation, we are in week 2, week 1 for some teams. So, we're still getting started, still trying to figure out things, where teams really are. So what we're going to do, we're going to kind of find out, I always like to try to grab a story that's related to either our region or in the state. And right now, I want to talk about a kid that you may be familiar with if you follow high school football in the state of Tennessee. He is ranked number 4 according to USA Today as a running back being recruited. This kid is a 4-star, 2-time Mr. Football Player of the Year in the state of Tennessee, Eric Gray. All I got to say is check out this kid's highlights. You're going to know what I'm talking about and why he's being highly recruited. Now, he hasn't committed to anybody yet, so he's still out there to make a choice on where he wants to go. But whoever gets this kid, I think they're in for a treat. This guy is 5'10", at 190 pounds. Last year, rushed for over 3,000 yards.
Oh, my goodness.
45 touchdowns.
Who's he play for?
He plays for, and you guys help me out in saying the name, I think it's Louisiana Collegiate in Memphis, Tennessee. So pull up Eric Gray. Check out what this kid can do. One thing I like, I'm a former running back, is his footwork and his vision. How he able, when he makes a cut, he keeps his feet moving.
Barry Sanders.
A lot of running backs can make the cut, but their adjustment out of the cut is hesitant. He kind of, and that's it's hard to teach. But anyway, check out that kid. That's what I want to talk about going on around the nation. Mr. Eric Gray.
All right.
Awesome.
Mr. Blevins.
We'll just recap a little bit about last week. We talked about a few teams we were going to talk about. One big one was, what was West High going to do against Greenville? Well, on the report of that, it was 42-0. So Greenville's definitely what we thought, and West might still be in a rebuilding year with that. We also go to a few other games. Sevier County beat Heritage 34-14, got back on the board with a win this past week. Oak Ridge downs DB 41-12. Science Hill, which we talked about there just a minute ago, that Bart will talk about here, beat Ooltewah on a thriller, 35-34. Ooltewah, but the 35-34, and then Maryville defeated on a win 24-21. But a team I want to talk about real quick is Elizabethton and Cott County. So Cott County, guys, is what we were talking about before the show. They're 2-0 right now. They beat Carter this past week, 22-15 to start out 2-0 on the season. That is an eye-opener and a red flag for us to get on the radar and start seeing what this team is doing.
Okay.
I'm going to bring back a report about Cott County this week as I go play and see what they're doing. But Elizabethton is also a team to watch. They are built. Mr. Witten out there has got that team ready to go. I know Chris here, his alma mater, is excited about this. But they have got a season set up for them, let me tell you. They just won 45-6 against South Green. The next 5 games are going to be key for them. Sullivan East, Daniel Boone, Granger, Tennessee High, Union County, their next 5 games. Don't overlook those games. But second of all, I think they're going to be game plan on each one of those games for something for Greenville. So if you're watching Greenville, that's going to be their 6th game. I know that's looking down the road, but I think that's what Elizabethton's going to be gearing up for and kind of putting in some things for Greenville, and we're going to keep an eye on that as we go. I've got Elizabethton in my top 5. I've got Greenville number 1, and I'm kind of sliding Cott County in at 10.
Oh, no.
Somewhere in there. So I'll let you know this next week how they do, and I'll report back with y'all next week around the region.
All right, so you heard it from Mr. Blevins right here. He's come up with his own top 10, but we'll reveal the top 10. Might be some changes in this one, so you make sure it's politicking for Cott County.
Don't forget about Jeff County either.
And Jeff County too, but hey, there's some
number 1.
Greenville number 1, okay. But let me tell you something. We're coming back right here on Your High School Sports, and Bart Lyons is going to join us. He's going to talk about the Hilltoppers and talk about what's going on in the Northeast. part of Tennessee.
Yeah.
So make sure you stay right here with us on Your High School Sports. We're coming right back.
Get the right services you need from a name you can trust at Crescent Center Drugs. Whether it's hormone replacement therapy or if you need to update your immunizations for flu, pneumonia, or shingles, Crescent Center Drugs has a professional and friendly staff, always ready to take care of you. That's why for many years, Crescent Center Drugs has been your good neighbor pharmacy. Right now, getting your medicine is fast and easy when you sign up for the IVR system. It's simple. Once your prescription is filled, your box is scanned, and you instantly receive a phone call or text for pickup. Visit Crescent Center Drugs inside the Crescent Shopping Center.
Welcome back to Your High School Sports. Bart Lyons is on the line with us now. He's our correspondent in the northeast part of this great state of Tennessee. Bart, I'm going to say one thing to you. Go Toppers. Let's talk about your Hilltoppers a little bit.
Big win Friday night against the Ooltewah Owls. Very talented team. Had an unbelievable, electric quarterback. Kind of reminds you of Mike Vick back in his early days, and real good running back that was really good. He ran downhill the whole night, and we were fortunate to come out there with the 35-34 win. Ooltewah got it down there and scored, and I guess with about 3 minutes left, they elected to go for 2 in the win, and it's when Big Copenhagen stepped up, and him and the Topper defense was able to corral the quarterback on the day and put the stop to 2-point conversion. We got that 35-34 win.
Talk about Elizabeth and Cyclones. I know that's Chris's alma mater, and sounds like they've got themselves in high gear right now.
Yeah, Elizabeth, and they've got a pretty easy road to travel. I think they'll handle most of their schedule, and then. Of course, during playoff time, that's when they'll see some good competition. But man, Coach Whitten, he does a great job over there, and you got some real good players in Everett and Russell and all those guys over there. Jackson Holly, an outstanding kicker, and they've got a good thing going on over at Elizabeth as well.
Talk about who else up there you think, in your opinion, could have the makings of a good season.
Well, of course, we'll talk about Greenville. All of us talk about Greenville, and like I said last week, I've already got them penciled in to take the gold ball home in Cookeville. But Silver South got a big win. The Hampton Bulldogs had a hard-fought win over Johnson County in a close one. And then, of course, some good things are going on down in Jonesboro. That young coach. Young, energetic, and fired up coach has got the Pioneers heading in the right direction at 2-0 right now, and the Pioneers defeated Campbell County on the road to bring their record to 2-0, and they're doing some big things down there in Jonesboro.
All right, it's time for you, the Bart Lyons Tri-Cities Player of the Week. Who may that be?
All right, I tell you what, let's go to the quarterback for the David Crockett Pioneer, Cade Larkins. Cade passed for 211 yards and 4 touchdowns in the second half for a 28-0 win for the Pioneers. So Cade Larkins, quarterback for the David Crockett Pioneers, is my player of the week.
All right, Bart, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you. And what's your Toppers going to do this week?
Hey, we got Donovan Bennett rolling in on Friday night, and we've already started getting prepared and fired up, and the kids came in on Sunday and getting ready, and it should be a good one too. It's going to be televised up here in the Tri-Cities area. I think WCYB Channel 5 is going to televise it, and of course, anyone listening on the radio, 97.7 FM ESPN Tri-Cities or 1590 AM. They can tune in and listen to the Voice of the Hilltoppers. So should be a good one. Look for a big game Friday night.
Thanks, Bart. Bart is Voice of the Hilltoppers. And, he has to be excited about Science Hill.
Oh, Science Hill looked real good. I had a chance to go out and see them this past week, and it was like a ping pong match. I mean, it was just going left and right. But at the end, Science Hill pulled it off, and I was very impressed with the talent that Science Hill's starting to show. A lot of talented kids.
Yeah, I was kind of impressed with Bart talking about that quarterback from
Udoa,
Saying
yeah.
it's kind of like a old or a younger Michael Vick type of running quarterback, and was really exciting to watch. I'd like to go back and look at some of the highlights of that.
I would too.
One other point on that game, the number one, Sincere Quinn, I believe he was called. Kid didn't even start, but he got 3 touchdowns and about 200 yards all purpose.
It didn't start.
And I don't think he started the game.
Bart
but
said
Bart, he said he was hurt.
And then he said he was tired.
Hey, but they could have kept that guy going. He was a machine.
Way to go, Bart.
It's a good game, great game.
Great game. All right, it's time for the Ball Corporation Games of the Week. Some big key matchups coming up early, guys. That's the thing you talked about a little bit last week. We talked about how the big games usually, this game, DB and Science Hill, used to be the last game of the season.
Oh, yeah.
East-West used to be the last game of the season. But now you play them early.
Yeah.
You play them early in the season. How do you know what you got when you play somebody like that? You play, okay, Science Hill and DB. Let's just kick that off.
Okay.
Science Hill and DB. You saw Science Hill play last week against Udoa. You've seen him play. You've seen DB play. What a great matchup this is going to be.
Yeah. Now, I saw DB play last year. I saw him play a lot last year. I haven't seen him play yet this year. But I'm still surprised a little bit on what's going on with DB. I know a lot of their key players came back. I guess I need to kind of research more about their offensive line, defensive line, because that could be a key to what's going on. So right now they're a little down. I know they transitioned to a new coach. And, there's a lot of things that could have factors in, but it's still early. And we are talking about one of the biggest rivalries in Northeast Tennessee, Science Hill DB. So with me even saying that, throw all that away. Just act like I didn't say anything, because it's not going to matter. Science Hill, on the other side, made a great, valiant effort on defeating a great, talented Udoa team. I mean, there was a lot of talent on that field. I mean, there was just highlights for days. So they proved that they can pick up from that devastating loss they had against Elizabeth Cyclones. And you know how I feel about it.
I know.
But
I know how you
they
feel.
were able to pick their feet up, come up with a good victory, and the key is to be able to carry that into this big DB game, because DB obviously is going to be very hungry, because they got, kind of embarrassed that first game.
Yeah.
Chris just told you about the score last week against, a good Oak Ridge team. But it's not Dobbins Bennett football we're used to seeing. So what's going to happen is, when you come up under the lights on Friday night, you're going to have to throw all that in the trash, like I said, and come out and find out what you're worth in that moment.
So you taking Dobbins Bennett?
I am not going to. Do I tell you now? Do I tell
No, we'll tell you in a minute.
Okay, I was going to say, because I am not going to tell you.
I want to hear what
pick.
Mr. Blevins said. He, they are two teams that are matched, pretty well. New coach. What do you think the new coach is saying right now, Chris, going into this game?
Well, I'm with Chris on the part when you have a big rivalry game like this, is that a lot of these things go out the window. You talked about earlier about how the games usually played at the end of the season. I think for a new coach, he's probably excited to get this game out of the way in the early part of the season. It's something to work on as you build towards the end of the season. So you got two different perspectives on that. You can look at it as, well, we don't have enough time to build up to it, or you can look at it as, we need to get this over the hump here. Maybe you could reboost your season. If DB wins on Friday night, we're sitting here on, next Friday talking about how, oh my gosh, they've come back alive, and it's still,
You're right.
all the things go away. So I definitely don't count DB out, and I'm sure the coach is telling them kind of what Chris is saying. Let's just not forget and what we learned about the past two games. Well, let's forget all the bad stuff that happened. Let's focus on DB and what we can do. And let's go home here in front of these lights and this crowd, and let's go tackle Science Hill and see what we can do.
Yeah.
So.
I want to point something out, though, on Science Hill. Player that I think he's grown up, and that's the quarterback for Science Hill, A.J. Stewart, young guy who plays very similar to a very talented Jalen Adams that we remember last year that did a lot of damage against DB for the last 2 years. But first game, I think it was because it was the first game. In other words, against Elizabeth. Had my son with me, and I was only able to get a few highlights to show from the Elizabeth game, thanks to Mr. Lee Woodby. But my son actually attended the game, and when we were watching, meaning attending the Science Hill Elizabeth game last week and noticing the quarterback. So when we were watching AJ this past week, that's the first thing Zion pointed out, is that Dad, he didn't play like that against us. He said, he's running all over this team. So I think AJ's kind of hit a stride to where, along with those three very talented running backs, Chris Thomas, we already know what he can do. He did a lot of damage against us, even though they lost. And he did a lot of damage against Udoa. Now you throw into a AJ Stewart, who's now feeling comfortable and confident in what he's doing. Science Hill could be a very dangerous team going down the road.
Down the road. All right, we got a few other games up in the Northeast. Happy Valley, Hampton.
Are we picking now? Or is it
Yeah,
time
let's
to
pick.
Who are you asking first? There's
You.
two Chris's.
The Chris's.
Again, this is another one of those
Happy
games where
Valley and Hampton.
Not a lot, and I haven't got to see them play a lot, but, you know, you think about Happy Valley and Hampton, that's a big rivalry game,
yeah.
too.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, just going off what I know so far, I'd probably go with Hampton, probably.
Okay. All right.
Do I give you my pick?
Yeah, you give me your pick.
Like Chris said, once again, you throw everything out the door. I mean, this is a rival. This is a crosstown rival. I mean, they're both hungry. It doesn't matter what the record is.
Right.
It's about what the moment is. And like I said, Happy Valley, successful last year, not too much success this year. I may go with Chris on this.
You can go to
Hampton.
All right. Another big game is Daniel Boone versus Tennessee High.
Man, Tennessee's on the streak right now. They have started off hot. And,
Do you flip a coin?
I mean, it's another big game, but I mean, right now, after last week, we said if Tennessee wins another game, we might have to start looking again and thinking. Kind of, we talking about Cobb County here, yeah. That's what I was thinking. So I got to go with Tennessee this week.
All right.
And, you know, I want to first apologize. We had this as one of our games of the week picks, and I was focusing on Daniel Boone's schedule, which showed Tennessee High, which obviously they didn't play last week, but they're playing this week. So I guess I can't change because it hasn't much changed. Tennessee High did get another victory. DB, meaning Daniel Boone, has some very tough, talented weapons, especially at running back. These two guys are big horses, and like I said last week, watch out for them. Tennessee High can stop them. Tennessee High can still get the victory.
Now, this game we're picking here is not a Northeast game, but it is a game that is in the 6A class. It's Jeff County and Beard, because down the road somewhere, if you're DB or Science Hill, you're going to have to meet one of these teams. Let's say Jeff County.
Well, I think Jeff County is a team that's hungry for just a successful season. So you got to think Bearden's had some luck and having the successful team out through the years, but Jeff County's not been a winning team in quite some time.
No.
So when we think about that, 2 wins start your season off. That's got some motivation going into this one. I think they probably know what Bearden is and what that would mean to their record,
Yeah.
their season. I think Jeff County's going to come hungry, and I think Bearden better watch out. I think Jeff County's got a good backfield. They've got a really good defense. They just won this past week 25-0. Although they won their first game, I think they only scored 7 points against them on their first game, and now 0 on the next one. So they only scored 7 points on that defense. I think they're hungry. I think they're motivated to have a better season and a good record. And I say watch out for Jeff County. I think it's a sleeper team in just the overall what we're talking about. So
who's your pick?
Jeff County.
County. All right, Jeff County, Knox Bearden. Don't know much on Bearden at this point. You know, they just come off a victory this past week, beat I believe it was Cleveland.
Yeah, pretty cool.
All right, so they were 2-0. Like Chris said, this is a crucial game because now we're talking. It's a conference game, and we're early in the season, and it's good to get those wins early, so you don't have to play catch-up going in. So they both know what's at stake here. Did see Jeff County play earlier this year. That was your high school sports game of the week against Sevier County, and guess what? Sevier County was tearing them up in the first half. A very talented quarterback, Cam Burt, was tearing them up. Little concerned about that, and the reason why I pointed that out because, like Chris said, this is a very talented defense. They had 10 of the 11 guys returning, and they didn't look very good in that first half. But in the second half, even though Cam Burton got hurt, they turned things around, and just the way they shut out East, they shut out Sevier County in the second half. So that defense, I think they have awoken. They are now woke, and they are ready, and I think they know what's at stake, and they got to kind of pull from that old Jeff County from back in the 80s when they won some state titles, and I think they're going to revive and come alive and get the law. No, they're going to get a victory. I'm going to go with Chris.
You go with Jeff County.
I'm good.
All right, guys. You heard our picks. If you'd like to comment any way, shape, form, go to yourhighschoolsports.com. And when we come back, we're going to unveil the Your High School Sports Top 10 right after this.
Get the right services you need from a name you can trust at Crescent Center Drugs. Whether it's hormone replacement therapy or if you need to update your immunizations for flu, pneumonia, or shingles, Crescent Center Drugs has a professional and friendly staff always ready to take care of you. That's why for many years, Crescent Center Drugs has been your good neighbor pharmacy. Right now, getting your medicine is fast and easy when you sign up for the IVR system. It's simple. Once your prescription is filled, your box is scanned, and you instantly receive a phone call or text for pickup. Visit Crescent Center Drugs inside the Crescent Shopping Center.
Welcome back to Your High School Sports. I'm Rodney Woods, your host, along with Chris Blevins and Chris Reddick. It is time for the top 10, but we're going to deviate a little bit. We want you to hang in there for a second or two. Chris has got a list of players that he thinks have already done things in this young season, that notables. We're going to call this section the notables.
Okay. Yeah, we got the top. Well, I'm not going to stuck on the top 10. This is not necessarily a top 10. There's a few notable players or top performers, however you want to call it, that are starting to have a good season. Bart already mentioned one. He was our Your High School Sports, or the Bart Lion Player of the Week. That's Mr. K. Larkins, 4 touchdowns, which was very key because he made those happen second half of the game. Of course, we know about K. Ballard, what he can do. Had a fabulous game last week. Had a great game also this week. Didn't have to play much, sorry about that, against Morristown West, but he had 2 rushing touchdowns as well as 1 passing touchdown. Then we want to talk about Carter Everett and Corey Russell. These guys, I mean, they've been doing this for years now. I mean, just like K. Ballard, you know, we've known about what they can do. They both each had 4 touchdowns. Carter Everett did it in the air. And they're doing something a little different with Corey Russell. He's playing a lot of receivers, so he caught 2 receiving touchdowns as well as rushed for 2. So always standout players there. And we want to talk about Mr. A.J. Stewart. We talked a little briefly in the last segment about him, but I just want to throw out what he did. Like I said, he has a rise to where he had almost 100 yards rushing, and he had 70 yards passing. So he's becoming that dual threat quarterback that, you know, can make them very dangerous. And his partner that he hands the ball off to, Chris Thomas. Unbelievable year so far. Almost 200 yards against Elizabeth last week. Had 128 yards this week, 3 touchdowns. I mean, what else can we say? Then I'm just going to call this one out, even though he's not in Northeast Tennessee, but I'm just going to mention him again. But that kid from Ottawa, man, running back, Gwen, he had almost 100 yards rushing and had 101 yards in receptions and 3 touchdowns. So those are guys. Of course, there were some other great players that did a lot of things, but we don't have time to go through everybody. But those guys kind of stood out.
I like that. And next week, you have a few notables?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So I like that segment, guys. But now it's time to unveil this week's Your High School Sports Top 10. All right. Now, this is, we have some deviation. We'll get Chris to do his second, but we'll figure it out. And then what you need to do is you need to go to yourhighschoolsports.com and see who we pick as the top 10. But this is right now off the board. I still have Maryville, Greenville, Alcoa, Knox Fulton, Elizabethton, Jeff County, Tennessee High, Anderson County, Knox Catholic, and Science Hill. I didn't put Cobb County on there because you know.
It's iffy right now. Only reason why I'm thinking about the early of the season, and especially on your high school sports, wins mean a lot.
Yes, they do.
If you've lost and you're early in the season, I don't think you need to be in the top 10 until you regain yourself and you get more of the depth of your season. You start beating some teams that are notable. Maybe you were 3-1, you're not in the top 10, but then you beat a 4-0 team the next week. Then you come back into the limelight. So,
yes, you do.
But early in the season, I've got Greenville still number 1. And I know that every year I get on here, people think I'm bashing Maryville. I think Maryville's an outstanding team. I just think we all need to get into the reality that people can be better, and Greenville can do it.
Okay, that's it.
So which one are we going with? We got
Well,
I'll tell you my top 5 real quick. It's not much different though. Greenville, Maryville, Alcoa, Farragut, Elizabethton's my top 5. So that's pretty close.
Okay.
Other than Fulton, and I think that's the only difference is Fulton. And I've got Fulton at 7, just because they've only played 1 game.
Well, but they are full.
And I like Fulton being in. I know, like I said, got the late start because they didn't play in the week 1 or week 0, whatever they're calling, but they did get an impressive win against Central. And key returning player at Fulton that missed all last year because of ACL. He's one of the top ranked players at DB. I think big schools like Kentucky are looking at him. So he's back in the mix now and made a big key interception in that game. So I like that Fulton game.
I do too. And when we talked about Jeff County, I think they're coming back.
Got to prove it, though.
Coach Spencer Riley, he played at Jeff County. He knows what you're talking about, the 80s when they won state championship. That's the mentality that Jeff County's going to have.
Jeff County playing Bearden at home this week.
Yeah.
Tell us if they need to be in the
They're
top
the real
10.
deal.
We'll know next week.
And you can't take out, Anderson County. I still got Anderson County in there because that is good. That classification is coming down to 3 teams. Greenville, Elizabeth, and Anderson County.
Yeah,
right.
They got to duke it out.
They're going to duke it out.
They've got to duke it out.
So whoever wins the conference and seeded number 1, that other 2 team, Elizabeth and have to play Anderson County like they did last year. That's the thing.
You don't want to do that.
You don't want to do that. So somebody, Elizabeth, your best chance to win this thing is when you play Greenville. I know the season. Kate Ballard and Winton would say, hey, let's don't talk about the chip. But let me tell you something. That is where the buck stops, Elizabeth. You knock off Greenville, and you sitting in the driver's seat because they got to come to you in the playoffs.
Greenville starting to sound a little bit like that Alcoa team.
We don't talk about. We're gonna talk about
that stubborn that you can't stop, but you got to get over that hump if you want to get that gold ball.
We're gonna talk about that next week because that's a good subject. Because there's some teams that
Alcoa's stingy with that gold ball.
They gonna give it up. That's their gold ball. That's their gold ball. All right, guys, quickly. September 1st is rolling around. NCAA kicks off. Give me 10 seconds or 20 seconds on UT.
I think Tennessee is always looking for the brighter side of things. We got a new coach this year, but I think we got a football coach this time. And I'm all about coaching, but these players need to get behind Mr. Pruitt. They got a big test because West Virginia being 17th in the country.
Yes.
They are going to run all over the field. They're going to spread you out. They're going to use every inch of the field, and our defense better be ready. Quick tidbit, I don't remember his name for sure. A kid that transferred here from Michigan State, one of our running backs. They're going to run 3 running backs. We also got 2 quarterbacks going to play a dual threat on quarterback. So still people playing for positions out there, and I think it'll be fun to watch them come September 1st. So we'll see what happens. And then ETSU comes to town next week. So.
That's right. ETSU, hey, I'm going to throw this out on there. Don't let that blue and gold take a victory over UT. Do not.
Fun fact. I went to ETSU.
Fun fact.
If I never house divided. ETSU is my only standard. I would put the half and half on.
You're going half and half? Yeah, don't let them come out and get a victory. I will talk about that every week.
I would too.
Y'all do that. All right, you've heard it here on Your High School Sports. For Chris Blevins, for Chris Reddick, I'm Roddy Woods, and we'll see you right here on Your High School Sports next week.